One of my favorite artists in the underground right now is Smokingskul. I started listening to him about late last year and it's just been crazy seeing the growth since then. Like out of everyone coming up right now, I think Skul is easily one of the most unique and he's definitely paved his own lane in this whole wave. And if you don't know who Skul is, or like maybe you just don't like him, hopefully this video can change things for you. So intro out the way, let's get straight into the video. Skul's story begins in Stockholm, Sweden, where he was born and would live for the first few years of his life. He would later move to the United States, more specifically Florida, where he would spend the rest of his childhood. Growing up, Skul was a pretty normal kid. For the most part, he kept to himself and did his own thing. The only problems he really ran into were at school. He would rarely do any of his work, and overall it just wasn't for him. Part of this was due to the fact that he had already started making music. He was taught how to use GarageBand from a friend that ended up making his first song, Retaliate, in 2014. From there, he started recording songs every weekend and even made a mixtape called Roar in middle school, which he sold for $5 at lunch. Skul got his rap name from WWE wrestler Stone Cold Steve Austin's championship belt, the Smokingskul. As far as his influences, the most obvious one is Ant-Man. A lot of people call Skul a Zan clone, and I can see how they would think that, but I see it less as cloning and more as Skul putting his own spin on what Zan started. And Zan himself is cool with Skul, and apparently he actually wanted to sign him at a certain point. Besides Zan, another one of Skul's big influences is Broke as Fuck. Skul's actually admitted to taking inspiration from some of Broke as Fuck snippets, and this led to the iconic trailers we have today. Now, Skul's first song on the internet is a track called T-Shirt, released January 1st, 2018. There's probably tracks before this that were deleted, but this is the earliest song that you can actually listen to, but I mean, this song really isn't bad. Like, obviously you can tell it was made in 2017, 2018, but I would definitely expect someone starting out in rap to sound like this.
Yo bitch like the pussy cause you know what's on my neck. All these zeros on this check, I'm a geek with the tech. I go dummy with the drum and I'm off the Percocet. That boy say he's shooting guns, catch a jigger on set. Nigga living with a mans, that's why they ain't pay no rent.
In the next few years, Skul released a flood of music, and between 2018 and 2020, he released a total of 12 projects and a handful of singles. Now, I could go through and individually talk about all these songs and all these projects, but honestly, I'm just not trying to do that because a lot of Skul's songs back then didn't really have variety. So there's really no point in me individually talking about each one because I would just be saying the same thing every time, and y'all not trying to watch that. There's really only one song from this time period I will talk about, and in my opinion, this is what gave Skul some of his first momentum.
You in my trap, don't do that. You in my business, don't do that. How about the whip? They say who that? I put a brick out the oven, I moved that. You in my trap.
Skul released Do That on November 5th, 2020. Over the course of the next few months, the song slowly started going up on TikTok, and there's currently over 2.5k videos made with the sound. I feel like this song is very reminiscent of old Zan, but you know, I can see why it went up. It has that TikTok sound, like a very quotable hook and something that can easily be made into like a funny meme or whatever. Now obviously the song didn't like mega blow up or anything, but Skul did gain some followers from it, and this was his first bit of mainstream attention. But all of this led to the year that changed everything for Skul, 2021.
Bitch, I'm a real nigga, I ain't fake. 556, make a nigga skate. You want some smoke, tell him he can wait. I know the OGs appreciate. What you gonna do and hop out that VA? What you gonna say in front of that DA? Cartier's up with a radiate.
Going into this year, Skul was really developing his own sound, and even though he was mostly sticking to the same style of music as before, it felt more like himself. Skul also started working with a collective he'd recently joined called What You Want, which consisted of his friends / artists. The roster was Cozy, Swiss, Fino, and Skul's own cousin Malachi. Malachi had only begun rapping the previous year, but he was already pretty good by 2021, and he and Skul as a duo were almost unstoppable. After dropping some mini EPs, Skul released his first project of the year, Smoke Serving, on June 11th. This was a different vibe compared to Skul's other projects because it featured some of his first dark plug tracks. Now to be fair, it wasn't like this was Skul's first time rapping on these kinds of beats, as previous songs like Elijah McClain, Ray Charles, and Afro all used similar beats. But it was really this tape that convinced Skul to stick with this style of production. Only a month later, on July 16th, Skul dropped Smoke Shamag, which was probably the best tape he'd released yet. He sounded extremely comfortable on the songs, and it even had some versatility with the track Erica Badu, which used a melodic flow. It was obvious at this point that overall, the darker style just fit him better. Skul had also started integrating himself more into the general underground. Before, he had pretty much been doing his own thing, but now he was working with all kinds of people. Saya XO was someone Skul started working with pretty early, even hopping on a song with him and Tana produced by 20 World. Skul also ended up meeting producers Bully wanted 800 points through a friend of his, Uke. But probably the most important person Skul met during this time was Margella. Now, Skul had already known about Jella for a minute before Jella actually ended up hitting him up, and the two almost immediately began releasing music together. Skul and Jella's styles complemented each other extremely well, and when they were on a track together, you already knew you were going to hear hella aggression and some out-of-pocket bars. On August 28th, Skul dropped Smoke Serving 2. Like his previous tapes, it was pretty short but solid and better than the first Smoke Serving in my opinion. There's also 3 Jella features on here, all of which are pretty good. Buddy Heat is probably my favorite song on this tape, and it's still a great song to this day.
I'm on that Cancun, that LeBron. I do not serve niggas Papa John. I do not got niggas I count on. Yeah, run through his safe, take his bearer bonds. Got a fresh plug, he say let's on from. I'm in the field, G24 caught it Buddy Hill. He say he's shooting nigga.
On October 1st, Skul dropped a collab tape with Malachi called Smoke Kai, and it was pretty much everything you could ask for from the two. They were both perfectly balanced on every track, and I wouldn't say anyone carried it at all. On November 11th, Jella dropped The Clan with Skul and Young Chris. This will end up being one of their biggest songs, and it currently has over 370k plays on SoundCloud. This song was a big milestone because not only did it continue to grow his career, it actually got him noticed by the producer of the track, Perk40. But we'll talk about him in a little bit. On December 1st, Skul dropped his final tape of the year, Smoke vs. Smoke. Again, a pretty short project, but it was pretty good all the way through, except for the 5th track, Big Time Rush. I have a pretty open mind when it comes to artists, but like, that feature is just, no bro.
I'm not Tom Brady, I don't party. I don't make excuses, I ain't James Harden. Say you gon' slide, I beg your pardon. He saying business, I ain't have no party.
She roam in the scene, baby, I'm not Drake. One down there, blonde nigga like a race. I gotta shit my arm, feel like fate. We go to side, we don't care if it's late. I ain't on iPod, don't touch. Shoot 2 things, make it funny to hush. I get it big like bitch.
Now, I said before that 2021 was the year that changed everything for Skul, but 2022 has been Skul's year by far. I'm gonna try and cover what I think are the most important things that have happened this year, so if I don't mention something, then that's probably why.
What? I was tracksuit like a mug. I got a Glock 49 on sub. I feel like Whitney in the tub. Wait, blood, who that in club? I'm in a tenant coupe, that's a mug. Bitch, I'm trapping till dusk. Now these niggas tryna fuck with us.
In the first few months of the year, Skul started working with a bunch of new artists, dropping songs with people like OK Mar, Perk40, and TDF. Now, everybody that I just mentioned were members of a collective known as Crestfallen, and long story short, it ended up breaking up. However, most of the members are still cool, and I guess they just all collectively found Skul at the same time and started working with them. I think it's fine that they all started making music together because it's just so unexpected. You wouldn't really think that those two sounds would work together, but they did, and as a result, we've gotten so many hard collabs. In March, Skul and Bullymon dropped a collab tape called Bicephaly. This might actually be the shortest project Skul's ever released at only 6 minutes, but it goes crazy all the way through. Bullymon in general is just an insane producer, and the beats on this tape are like, bro, like how do you go from a Batman sample to classic plug to a literal Amber Alert sample?
Yeah, everything gon' be alright. Name my own dad, nigga, call me light. Big ass Glock, nigga, I won't fight. That Glock got a laser sight. I'm jugging these niggas day and night. I feel like I'm Debo, take his bite. I want steak, lean, it don't feel right. We got Max in.
On April 5th, Skul released a tape with Jake Hansen called The Slime Print. This is my personal favorite project by Skul. Like, this is the project that made me realize that Skul was actually hard. Like, I've been listening before, of course, and I'd like some songs, but with this tape, I was like, yeah, he got it, he got it. I think that Skul is at his best when he's on a Jake beat, and the two just have great chemistry. On May 7th, Skul and 20 Roll dropped a tape called Restricted. All I gotta say is, anyone who thinks Skul doesn't change his flow needs to listen to this tape because he does so much different stuff on it. On May 19th, Skul dropped Smoke Carter, which is probably one of the best tapes he's dropped, period. You pretty much get everything on this project from Perk to Jake to TDF to Bully. Everyone had a hand on this one. My two favorites are Cat Food and Angel Dust. In June, Skul signed to Simple Stupid Records, which is a label that includes artists like Jace and Midwest. Congrats to Skul for signing, like he definitely deserved it and everything, but from what I've seen from this label, they low-key sketchy, but I don't know the specifics of his deal, so I'll leave it at that. On the 30th, Skul dropped Food, which is pretty much the snippet tape, as every track he'd been previewing for the past few months was on this tape. It included Dog Food 2, One Me, and of course, Tracksuit. On September 29th, Skul dropped Not Cap, which is technically his first actual album, although it's still pretty short at only 19 minutes. It's decent for a debut. There's some really good songs on here like Nina, Jenga, and Blake, but I also feel like there's some filler tracks on here, like songs that were just added to make it an actual album. I'm happy that Skul finally got the Zaman feat though with If You Was Me. I saw some people complaining about his bars and the lines he said on that song, and I was just like, Have y'all even listened to Zaman before? Because what he said on that song isn't even close to his worst lines. On October 14th, Skul dropped one of his most anticipated snippets, In My Bag, but I think the feature Summers is what really caught everyone off guard. I have no clue how that collab even happened. Maybe Summers saw the whole Jay situation that happened earlier in the year and decided to give him a verse or whatever, but either way, the song hard. Skul is currently gearing up to drop another tape, Ready, which from the snippets already sounds like a hit. Like I said before, Skul has made so much progress in basically a year, and the fact that he's already signed means that the only way for him to go is up. I already know he and the whole gang finna go crazy in 2023, and I'm excited for all the future music. Hey, but that's it for the video. Thank y'all so much for watching. I've actually wanted to make this video for a while, but I decided to wait until the year was pretty much over so I could cover as much as possible. If you enjoyed, then make sure to subscribe, like, all that, and follow my IG. Again, thank y'all so much, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.
If I was from the outside and like it wasn't me and I was just a fan and there was a Smokingskul, I would basically be like, yo, this nigga is recreating something different. I feel like I'm basically like just doing shit. I'm doing like the same shit niggas already did, but in a different way, in like a more creative way.